Hi friends, Analia here. Today we're going to assemble this cute and spooky Witch Hat Garland. So I have all of the pieces for the witch hats cut. I've got my Barely Art craft glue. And I have a few additional supplies. I've got tweezers, some snips. These are actually cuticle snips. But these are great for snipping little bits of paper if something didn't quite cut right. I will say that even though there's a couple small pieces in this design, as long as your blade is sharp, everything should cut really nicely. I also have a pencil for marking the back of the witch hats as we assemble them on the string, a measuring tape, some hot glue, and some white string. We're going to start by assembling all of the witch hats. So let's start with our moon hat. And I've got all my pieces layered here. I'm going to flip over this band and then go ahead and add some glue. For this project, you could definitely use tape for most of the pieces. But I do like glue because it gives us a little bit of wiggle room when we assemble things to help line things up. Now, the edges of the witch hats have little marks where the band lines up. It's real easy to put it in its place. It bumps out a little there. And then I'm going to take my moon, add some glue to the back. Get it up with my tweezers. And then I'm just gonna center this onto the band there. There we go. The first hat is done, and I'll just set that aside. Next, let's do our stripy hat with the bow. So I'll bring my pieces for that over, and I'm gonna start by putting some glue on the back of the black stripy part. And then we're just gonna flip this and line it up on our yellow backing piece. Oh, I've got a little bit of fuzzy right here. So this is a good example of when the cuticle snips might be helpful. So I don't know if you can see that, but I got a little bit of a fuzzy. And then I'm just gonna line that up and give it a little snip. I'll get rid of the little fuzzy bit. Okay, so now we're gonna add our band, and this goes with the bow pointing down, and we can see our little poke outs here where the band lines up. It sticks out a little bit further from the hat. So I'll just add my glue. And then line that up on our sides there. Give that a little press. And then we need to take our little front for the bow and flip that over. And then we just line this up with the little bottom bits of the bow. And there's a little nub for the center that lines up on the orange piece. And then there we go. And our stripy hat is all done. Next, let's get our bat pieces. This is another simple one. So we've got our purple background, our green band, and then the bat that goes on top. So we'll start by gluing the green band on. This one's really easy to line up because we have the bat wings sticking out. And we'll just line up our sign here. And then line up our other side. There we go. And then we'll take our bat and add glue to the back. Then I'll line up our wing edge and our ears. And then the other side, and there we go. We've got the cute little bat hat. Let's do the spider hat next. So this one, we have our spider, our little bit of web. Now this piece is pretty thin. You can get glue on it. I've seen people use a little paintbrush and just glob glue on the back like a foam paintbrush. You could also cut this out of vinyl if you prefer. Do a little mixed media project. It is small, but I cut that on my Silhouette Cameo 5 and it worked out beautifully. So let's take our band and add our glue. And then line it up on my hat. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take my web piece. Now the web piece goes with the ends of the web going to the left. So if you line this up on the hat, you can see where that fits into the brim, and then the edge of the web goes out towards the brim. So I'm gonna flip this over and add some glue. Just gently, not too much. But it's okay if the glue squeezes out a little bit. It will once we stick it down and the Barely Art Craft glue dries clear. And it's not visible. We can also use a glue eraser if we need to get a little bit of additional glue off. And then I'm gonna grab this with my tweezers. Flip it over. Use that to help me line it up. There we go. Gotta line that up along the edge, give it a good pat. A little bit of glue came through, but again, it's clear, so I think I'm gonna let that dry, and then we can come back to it if we need to get it with the glue eraser. Next, we have our buckle, which goes on the hat. You can put the buckle facing either direction, up to your preference. And then we just want to kind of center that on the band and on the hat. Give that a press. And then lastly, we need to glue our spider. So the spider attaches with just the little end of the web here. And it's up to your preference if you want to glue the spider web onto the front or onto the back. I'm going to glue it onto the back. So I'm going to flip this over and make sure I don't set it down in any glue. I'm just going to add a little glue right here on the end. And then press my spider down into that. And then I'm just going to move that over there to dry while we do the last bubbly witch hat. So this one, again, pretty easy. We've got our bubbles. So I'm going to take this black piece and flip it over. Add our glue. Okay, then we'll line that up over our green and give that a press. And we're gonna take our purple band and flip that over. Glue that down. Again, on its little notches. And then the buckle. So again, the buckle can go either way. It's up to your preference. So make sure I get that on the back. There we go. And cap off my glue so it doesn't dry out on us while we finish this project. So we have all 5 of our witch hats assembled. Next, we need to glue these to our string or twine, whatever you want to use. I have some white yarn here. I've got a hot glue gun. I've got a sewing measuring tape. You could also use a ruler and a pencil. So let me get all of this cleaned up and get my glue gun heated up, and then we can come back and glue these all down to make the banner. All right, so I'm gonna start by measuring about 72 inches of yarn here. I'm gonna space my hats about 12 inches apart from the center, and then I want to give myself a little room on the side so that I can attach it to my wall or fireplace or wherever this is gonna go. So I'm gonna measure out some yarn here. So since this is a sewing tape measure, we go up to 60 inches. And then I need to measure an extra 12 inches to get to that 72. And there we go. Now I'm going to find the center here, and that's where I'm gonna do my first witch hat, right in the center. So I'm gonna take my orange and black one, since these have a similar color pattern with how I've cut them. And I'm gonna take this orange hat, and I'm gonna measure about 4 inches up from the center and mark that for where I want to glue it. That way I know that I'm gonna glue them all about the same height. Again, I'm gonna find the center of my banner here, my twine. And we're gonna just hot glue this right down in the middle here. Next, I'm going to work out from my sides So about 12 inches from where I measured this is where I want to do my next hat. So let's do the blue hat next with the moon. And so I'm gonna flip this over, measure up about 4 inches from the bottom. Again, just so that we're kind of getting them all about the same height at the brim. And then I'm going to measure about 12 inches to the center there. Of course, you can space your hats out a little bit more if you've got bigger space. So let's move this just slightly over. All right. And some glue along there. Stick my yarn in and then add a little bit more on top. And then we're gonna scooch this over one more time. I'm gonna put the purple bat hat there. And again, we're gonna measure up about 4 inches from the bottom and mark that for our glue line. About 12 inches from the center of the previous hat. Now we're going to repeat the measuring back from the center, going to the right. So as this dries, just going to move these hats back over, do our other side. Let's see, I think I'm going to put my bubbly one next. So again, measure up 4 inches, give us a little line. I find this really helpful too because both of the blue hat designs have a bit of a curve to them so that the points aren't exactly the same height. So if we measure up from the brim, we should get them close in height once we have them glued on. Here we go. About 12 inches from the center. Stick that down. Add a little more on top. Scooch this over and do our last little bit. Now, if you don't want to glue these down to a specific position, you could also cut straws into little pieces and glue those onto the back and then thread your yarn or string through there, and then the hats will move freely. So if you're planning on maybe putting this in a different place every year, or you're not really sure how long you need it, you can do that option as well, and that'll make it a little more versatile instead of sticking them down to specific spots. So now we're done with our assembly. I'm gonna let this dry for a minute, and let's take a look at the final witch hat banner. And here's our final witch hat banner. I hope you had fun crafting with me today. I'll see you next time.